ETS. All right, so we're gonna start right now. Perfect. Today is all about Unit 1, Lesson 3. When it comes to the objectives of today's class is to learn and explain to someone what to do and then check their understanding. So at the end of this lesson, you're supposed to, basically I'm explaining your assignment. Well, you're supposed to explain to someone how to do something and use appropriate questions to check the understanding. Okay? It's gonna be super duper smooth and easy for today. Let's get started. Okay, so as you can see right here, it's somebody who's explaining to a class or their colleague some information graphs. So when it comes to these type of information, you're supposed to give instructions or explanation. Okay, it could be to your friends, family members, basically on a specific type of information, but not all the time it should be that case. But this is just I'm describing the picture in front of us. Okay, let's go further. Okay, now, all right, I want you just to imagine this case, which is you have A and B. A is Sam, and that's his first day as a chef at an Italian restaurant from the name. So as a new trainer or he's just boarding in, it's important that he is learning and receiving all the information. So as you can see, his supervisor or instructor is explaining to him what to do and how this task needs to be done. The same thing with Louise. She is new in the position, so she's learning how to do some carpenting, all about the woods. Probably she's doing or modeling some I don't know, floors, or like from whatever she's it's just a hypothetical explanation, right, from the picture. But as you can see, she's wearing the gear, she's wearing the uniform, she's putting her hair updo. So she's learning also a new skill. All right, this is just an example of cases that needs explanations. Next, we have, for example, if you want to explain something to your partner, colleague, your child. So for example, you would like to explain how an application works or how a specific gadget works. Could also, if you want to teach your friend or your family member or your child something around the house, right? So we use also explanation. All right. Now, we will listen to some instructions for Joey on his first day on the job. We will listen together to his supervisor giving him some explanation regarding his tasks or job. So we will listen to that, and then we will try to understand how the instructions are given, okay?
Okay, you have completed the Food Safety Level 1 course, haven't you? It's important to follow the rules when you're working in the kitchen.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so when you start your shift, what's the first thing you need to do? You need to wash your hands, right? Do you get that?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And don't use hand sanitizers, okay? They don't work as well. You need to wash your hands properly. Have you got that?
Absolutely. No hand sanitizers.
And wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. Is that clear?
Yes.
All right. So what do Joey's supervisors talking about? He's talking about the hygiene standards or protocol in restaurants. So what is he explaining exactly is the steps that he needs to do, which means that he cannot sanitize his hands. It doesn't work. He really needs to wash his hands very well. And the other question right here that you can check is the supervisor, after he explained for Joey what, for example, the hygiene principles and their restaurant is, at the end, he asked him a question to make sure that he understood the point before he goes to another point. So he used expressions like, do you get that? You got that? Is it clear? Like that, okay? So all of that is just the matter of understanding before shifting to another point. All right, so now we're going to complete a dialogue, okay, based on what we're going to hear. So it's going to be pretty much straightforward. You're just gonna pick a word that you hear and you'll put it there. Let's get started.
Okay, you have completed the Food Safety Level 1 course, haven't you? It's important to follow the rules when you're working in the kitchen.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so when you start your shift, what's the first thing you need to do? You need to wash your hands, right? Do you get that?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And don't use hand sanitizers, okay? They don't work as well. You need to wash your hands properly. Have you got that?
Absolutely. No hand sanitizers.
And wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. Is that clear?
Yes.
All right. So here, as you can tell, the supervisor is CUP, which we will basically use just the abbreviation, and then Joey. For this one, you need to wash your hand, or sorry, your hands. And then he used right. Do you get that? And then here he used okay, which they are all informal ways, by the way. It's just, and then here we've got properly right here. After that, he used have you got that? And then and wash your hand for at least 20 seconds. Then he said, is that clear? So all of these words will be examples that you will use in your assignment, right? Okay. Again, we'll continue with explaining some rules. this is just an example so it can inspire you when it comes to your assignment, because you are supposed to give instruction to someone. So all of what we hear, what we do, all the exercises are built up so you can, it helps and it inspires you for your assignment. So far, the definition of giving instructions is, we said, is the act of giving steps, educating a person. If there's a training, for example, on a job campus, or giving instructions to your family members, whatever, that somebody that you are giving this information, it should be somehow detailed. So detailed. All right. So, and we said after that, just to recap, there is, before you go to another point, explaining another thing, just make sure that the person that you're explaining to is following you, right? So, and right here, you have some examples that you can use in your assignments. It's going to be some sort of conversation assignment. Okay, so to give clear instructions, you are supposed to be really clear and precise. So the language that you will utilize is going to be clear and precise language. And then you have to explain the purpose of the task. And of course, make sure that the person that you are addressing understands the point that you are explaining. Okay. You can also provide examples. If you're talking to that person, make sure it's in the right tone and the tonalities are correct, because sometimes it might feel harsh. Okay. When you are just checking, just make sure that it's the right tone. So far, so good for this point. Now let's listen here to Joe's supervisor, second part, and we'll try to answer the questions. Okay, I need your opinion when it comes to these 4 questions. Let's get started.
And after you've washed your hands, you need to dry them, okay? With a paper towel.
Right.
So you need to wash and dry your hands properly when you first arrive, when you use the washroom, when you have a break, and whenever you touch meat, fish, or poultry. Is that understood? It's essential that we keep everything as hygienic as possible.
Yes, I get it.
Okay, good. And on the subject of basic hygiene, what should you do if food falls on the floor?
Okay. So right here, the supervisor uses 2 expressions. If you want to, you can use the hands next to your name. And if you want to, for example, answer any question, you can use the hand. Okay. What is up to you? So we said which expression he used, basically as the supervisor, to make sure that Joe is following him. So he's following the speech. As you can tell, does anybody have an idea? Vin, yes, go ahead, please.
He asked him if he understand everything. I think so.
Yes, absolutely, you're right. So he asked him if he's following and he's understanding. So the expressions that he used were okay, and is that understood? Okay, so yeah, exactly. So he was checking his understanding by saying, okay, is that understood? The tonality is important because some people might get offended. But basically it's just to make sure that the person is following your speech, okay, or it's like you're grabbing the person's attention. That's what I want to say. Then number 2, we got, in which order do they talk about images? A to D. And what do they say about them? So for this one, they first talk about D, which is the paper towel and the cleaning for the hand and all of that. And then A, after a break. And then C, which is the poultry, and which is the chicken. And then at the end, he asked him, what you would do if something falls on the floor? Okay, food or a utensil falls on the floor. So, number 3, according to the supervisor, what is essential? So, according to the supervisor, what is the main idea, the title, and the essential thing that he's focusing on? Go ahead, Amin, please.
After sanitizing his hand, he have to dry it.
Yes. If you want to just say a main idea for the title of his instruction, what would you pick, Vin?
Hygiene.
Yes. Great job, Gina. So hygiene, that's what he is focusing on, everything that is related to hygiene and how to keep everything as clean and sanitized as possible. Okay, great job. So for what is the final question he asked? And what do you think the answer is? So for the final question he asked, what should you do if food falls on the floor? The answer might vary because it's not in the recording. However, since he's just new, he just got started, he might get an idea that's not, but we don't know. Let's listen to the next part to just check what he's answering the supervisor. All right, let's listen to Joe and his instructor and answer question 1, 2, and 3.
And on the subject of basic hygiene, what should you do if food falls on the floor?
Well, it depends, doesn't it? According to the 3-second rule, if you pick it up in less than 3 seconds, it should be all right.
What? Haven't you been listening to anything I've been saying about the importance of hygiene? There is no such thing as the 3-second rule. Do you understand?
Okay, if you say so.
If food falls on the floor, you should throw it away immediately. Understood?
Yeah, sure.
Are you sure you completed the Food Safety Level 1 course?
Well, it was a while ago.
I'd like to see your certificate. Can you bring it into work tomorrow?
Okay, so he was he was talking about a 3-second rule, where if food falls on the floor, you can keep it, like if it's like less than 3 seconds, then it's fine. But the answer for the instruction the answer is that there's no such rule, and he was mad, the instructor. And then the expressions that he used afterward is, do you understand, understood? The last question here, what does the instructor ask Joey at the end of the recording, and why does he ask it? He said he wants to see his certificate of completion for the hygiene standards. And he was not after he heard him, because really his answer was some sort of ignorant. It means that he has some doubt when it comes to the fact that he has completed his hygiene course. Okay. Did somebody okay. All right. So next thing, here is the language to check and the understanding. If you are just explaining somebody, you can say right. You can say, is that clear? Do you get that? Do you understand? Or is that understood? So that's why the unit's name is understood. It's from this lesson right here. Okay, and also it's really important when you are giving instruction to try to be in a sequence or in order. You can use, for example, sequence language, and for example, you can say firstly, secondly, thirdly, next. And if you are, for example, explaining to somebody the instruction on how to use an application, okay? So you say, okay, so first you've got this, you do that, and then you can say next, you do that, and then blah, 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 and so on, okay? So basically, I'm saying here, when you are giving instructions, make sure that everything is in sequence, in order, and is understood. Okay, so this is just an example. Here it says, it is important to set the alarm when you go out. Remember to check that all the doors are locked when you leave. The reason why we are saying this example is because they're related somehow to your assignment. So these are some expression at the beginning. So make sure to put the trash bin out on Wednesday night. Always remember to close the back gates. It's important to these are the expression that you can use also your own language to explain something. And you can, as I said, use the sequence type of words. Firstly, secondly, remember, make sure, so that's the end of this lesson. So here is your assignment. are explaining how to use a washing machine, you can say, here is how you can use my washing machine. First, you need to make sure that the laundry is divided by color, for example. Any chore you want to explain to that person, make sure that you give them the title or what you are explaining, and then you go throughout the sequence. You can say, be careful not to do that and that. For example, do not